This podcast was brought to you by Pulse Social Media, a digital inbound marketing agency in Charlotte, North Carolina. We help clients grow their brands, qualify leads, and convert those leads into customers. Visit us at www.pulsesocialmedia.com or call us at 980-237-1812. Welcome to the Chatting with the Expert show with your host, Paula Okonneh, where we help hardworking go-getter small business owners like you learn how to take their business to the next level. We interview solopreneurs and entrepreneurs like you who are successful at what they do and are extremely passionate about it. Tune in weekly as they share incredible strategies, tips, and advice on what they did to put them ahead of their competition. Be sure to join us at www.chattingwiththeexperts.com and subscribe to receive your free tips, strategies, and more on how to be the successful person you are.
Welcome to Chatting with the Experts. Today we're going to be doing a slightly different show. It's going to be on Google Hangout. So welcome to the show. One thing that we've all noticed is that there is a lack of women in technology. Technology continues to grow in leaps and bounds, but there's a noticeable absence of women in tech jobs and even in tech education. In this round table discussion today, we're going to be exploring the reasons why that is the case and coming up with possible solutions on what we can do to change that. Today I have to my right Betsy, it's Caitlin, and Sharon. And I'll give each one of them an opportunity to introduce themselves and talk about what they do in technology.
Paula. I'm Betsy, Hauser, Idilbi. I am the co-founder of Tech Talent South, an immersive web development training company. I came to tech in a little bit of a non-traditional route, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but I ran a physical product development company before, and I've always been very excited to build new products, but physical products take a long time and a lot of money. So I got very turned on to the idea of tech and started really quickly. Long story short, I went to a non-traditional boot camp in Chicago, learned to code, and then brought a similar program back down here.
Awesome. I'm Caitlin Sellers. I'm a digital marketing therapist and a trainer and coach for inbound marketing. I'm working in Charlotte with lots of different agencies and companies teaching people how to do inbound marketing, personal branding, and professional development for themselves. In addition to that, I run the Labo League chapter for Charlotte, which is a career co-pilot.
Thank you.
And I'm Sharon Jones, and I am an educator. I've been in K-12 education for the past 12 years, teaching everything from computer programming to computer science principles to web development and SaaS programming. And I have just recently moved over to Central Piedmont Community College, where I am teaching SaaS programming. My history is a bit non-traditional, as Betsy mentioned. I sort of fell into the concept of technology, but I'm very passionate about teaching others and implementing and integrating technology into all different types of careers.
Well, thank you. All three of these women are amazing, aren't they? And I realize I haven't introduced myself. I am Paula Okonneh, and my background is also non-traditional. I am a mathematician who, through the British system, ended up being an accountant, but was unable to become a CPA primarily because I had a 2-year-old daughter who was a handful. And that was what turned me into look into technology. I ended up getting an information systems degree at CPCC, actually, and went on to do web development because it gave me a lot of flexibility. I have recently started doing a podcast, and that has given me an opportunity to meet amazing people like these three young ladies here.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things we're going to be, as I mentioned, talk about is why there are why we don't see a lot more women in technology. But before we do that, let's talk about how the technological era has changed education as a whole. Sharon, I know you are in education. Maybe you can start and talking about that.
Well, I think the first thing that's happened is the speed in which technology has progressed over the past few years. For a long time, you were okay with just doing your basic Microsoft Word or working in PowerPoint or et cetera. There wasn't as much variety. But over the past few years, the speed and the development and all the different mobile applications has changed how we're able to teach. Something that you had asked me before about was my thoughts on whether being live or online, or how does that incorporate into to teaching.
Yes.
And I think the key is that one of the wonderful things that technology has done is allowed you to have education anywhere at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing. I think your ability to be able to plug in, get access to a course, or use it mobily or YouTube or whatever it is, because I always tease that I Google things or I YouTube things if I need to find new ways of teaching or whatnot. But I don't want to discount the old school way of face-to-face either. I think that teaching of the whole person, of them not only understanding the skill, but really being able to apply the skill and understand why they're applying it, makes you a much more effective technologist.
Absolutely.
Or whatever you're doing. Because remember that technology is in everything that we do, everything. So understanding the skill is key, but being able to take that skill and make it versatile is to me, I think, is what is making the change, because technology is continuing to change every day and we have to be malleable with what's happening. So I think for me, how it's changed, bring it back down to just a point, is the speed of it, and that you now have the education at your fingertips.
Yes.
The accessibility, is just phenomenal.
Well, the ability to have instant access to information just changes the way that people talk to each other. It changes the way people learn. It changes the way that people interact in interpersonal relationships. So, not only with education has technology made a shift, but just in everyday life, I think it's helped make a big shift.
Well, and kind of circling back to the speed comment, I mean, you have to think now, if a new language comes out, Sharon can go home today and record a podcast and tell you about this new language.
Yes.
But even 15 years ago, that didn't happen. Like, it went through a whole review process with every state. It was 4 years before you really even found out about this language.
Yep.
So I think 4 versions behind on Rails on my own computer.
Mm-hmm. And, as we try to bring back the whole topic about women, now, as we talk about the speed, I guess, and accessibility, I can't pronounce that word today. I can't speak today.
I can't get it out right.
How do you think that has helped women in particular, or young girls in particular? I mean, they have access to the tools, they have access to technology, it's right at their fingertips. Do you think that in any way that this has been helpful to young women?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think that if you were to look at the data, I'm a data nerd, but the majority of individuals that use technology are women. Yeah. They are the pioneers of technology. We're the ones that go out and use the cell phones or find that app, or we tend to do those things. So if you put it in the realm of something that they really like, the interest and the this is the key, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, so I don't want to dive too far into it, but I think it's the flexibility of it. The ability to be able to do both, be a working mom, or be a woman who loves fashion but can also incorporate that technology, or a woman who enjoys cooking, or maybe the woman enjoys anything, hiking, sports, whatever it is, and take that passion and put the technology with it, because we are innovators. Women are. But that's pretty much a proven fact, and you can pull the data on that too. But yes, the answer is yes. I think that, and Betsy will speak to this a little bit too, but in educating, all the years that I was in K-12, it was a slow process, but slowly but surely I would get more and more girls in my class. And then Betsy will speak to this too. What the biggest difference that I've noticed is not so much in K-12, but in adult ed, the realm I'm in now, a large population that I teach now is women. Mm-hmm. And most of it is women that have been moms or are have been out of the workforce for a variety of reasons and are coming back. And they're ready. They're willing to learn. They're willing to put the time in.
Pastor Nathan.
Yeah, I can definitely chime in on that as well, and absolutely, like we were actually, Tech Talent South was mentioned by LinkedIn as the second most friendly women boot camp in the world, which was really exciting, and we've seen so many women come to the program, both through our free Kids Code initiative and also through our adult programs, and I think so many of the women come for a couple of reasons. Like, one, they finally recognize there is a lot of flexibility in this world.
Yes.
If I become a rock star developer, you know what? I can work on a boat. I can work in the morning. I can work in the evening. I can freelance when my kids are asleep. It is a powerful situation to be in. And then also, I think there's been a dramatic shift of, there are all these amazing women. They're starting businesses out of their house, right? Like, I want to empower myself. I also have a family. I'm going to sell my jewelry, or I'm going to do this. And they're suddenly realizing, wow, I can also build my own site, and I can fuel people to my site, and all of these things that come together. And it means that they're now very interested in technology. They're not just thinking about Fortran and the old school.
Well, and technology in itself is sort of an intimidating word, I found. And people don't realize that something as simple as managing your social media account or building a personal brand and writing a blog, so many women are doing that, and they're just not connecting the dots with the fact that they are actively working in technology, and that's something to be praised for.
Absolutely.
I think you just hit home, the connecting of the dots, because I think that's people
just got tingles.
Yeah, I mean, because we're doing this most every day. We are working in it, and we just don't realize that we have that capability to go even behind the scenes. And I often tell people, and this is something, as we talk about our journeys, my journey was I was going to be Oprah. I mean, I had I had my brand and everything. I was all, and so my goal was never to do this. But once I figured out that I could, and you can, once you learn the one language, you begin to realize that you can learn them all, because it's just like anything else we do. Once we learn how to bake one casserole, we can bake another one, because it's the same process over and over again. And every programming language has the same components. And you will find that the structure may be slightly different, but once you kind of get it, you're like, oh, I can do this. So you start reading it, and you can work your way through what you're doing. And women are very methodical in how they do things, and they think about it, and they process it, and we analyze this and that and the other. So that's what makes us so successful in being coders, is that we really, not that men are not, I mean, men are lovely. Yes. But I think that's a part of our little spunk, or our spark, or what makes us a little bit different.
Well, and being in a world of technology, there are so many different roles and options and layers, and so you can be a coder, you can be a digital marketer, you can be really good at paid advertising or SEO or copywriting. I mean, having a copywriting background is so lucrative to companies, and to have sort of a technology background with that can be extremely powerful on a resume and in an interview process.
We always say, and of course my background is similar to this, it's not just the people that are going to be doing the coding, it's entrepreneurs and people that are going to be talking to the people that are doing the development and the digital marketing. Just having that knowledge helps you build a product later. You certainly don't want to go launch, everybody has an app idea. To build your app idea, even if you're outsourcing it, you certainly want to be the person in the room that knows how to talk to your developers.
Yes, that's important. Yes. Yeah. And the thing is that we forget sometimes as women the lives we're impacting, even our children's lives. Just seeing us do this is encouraging to them, for those of us who don't have children. Those who don't.
I have a fur baby.
So, there is more of an impact in lives than we actually sometimes think about or realize. So this is great. But you know what? We talked about how women are indirectly incorporated or part of technology. But one question I didn't ask any one of you is this something that you really, really wanted to do? Or did it just kind of develop or happen? Let me start with you, Caitlin.
I thought I wanted to be a middle school teacher. I wanted to work with kids. I wanted to play all day. I wanted to have fun. And the more I dug into it, the more I saw how difficult it was to really stay in that rigid environment. And the way that schools and education is transitioning, I wanted to have more flexibility on my curriculum and the way that I taught information. And so going into college, I ended up as a communications major, and I still had a love of teaching. And so in the jobs that I had, I did a lot of train the trainer stuff. And so at my core, I am a teacher. The way that I applied it just wasn't in a traditional sense. And so taking a consulting and a coaching and a training instructor approach has helped me still kind of stay true to my passion, but has helped me apply it to technology industry, which allows me flexibility, it allows me creativity, it allows me to empower other people and mentor other people. And so I may not have children, but I will say that the ability to empower other people to get into this space has been really fulfilling.
And you're pretty good at it. I can vouch for that.
Thank you.
I can vouch for that. What about you, Sharon?
Let's see. I think that I ran away from the core part of me wanting to be a teacher. You know, I come from a very long line of educators, and so while I went to school, I was a communications major too. As I said, I thought I would do something in that line. And then I began to realize I kept going back to the education part. I really loved working with students and whatnot. So, but I had no intentions of ever really doing anything with technology. And it just sort of happened. And I told the story before, and I'll tell it again, that I've taught myself everything. I took one class, which was visualbasic.net. When the light, I did all my programming. When the light bulb finally came on in my first program, I was like, oh my gosh, I did it, But I have tripped over myself, and I have just found that my passion for innovation and creativity falls well into the realm of technology because it's changing and exciting, and you can really, there was something you said a minute ago. You said when you had a tutor when you were in middle school that made math come alive. And
Yes.
That stuck with me when you just said it because I felt like I can make my content come alive with the implementation of technology and using it in a different way. How do we make it so that it's useful and not unuseful? So I think for me it's just sort of happened organically. And I like to talk a lot, so I think that's part of it. I like a good conversation, and the kids. The thing about education is that it's always something new every day.
True.
It's never, and that's much the same in a lot of different places, but I don't know, something about being that spark with other people and the creativity part. But no, I don't think technology was not, it just sort of happened, and it's awesome.
And I can see it in your eyes and your voice. I can hear it in your voice as well. And Betsy.
Same story for me. I definitely did not think at all that I would be in any kind of role like this. Had you told 15-year-old Betsy that I would be at the CIO Awards or speaking at Spark Conference, I would have laughed in your face. Couldn't have been more different than what I would have imagined for my future. I was an advertising major, so also similar to you guys, which is interesting. But I worked in product development, as I mentioned before. And my love of technology came out of necessity. I wanted to market products, and I wanted to do it by myself, so I taught myself things like SEO and paid advertising. And from there, I really circled in the entrepreneurial community in Charlotte, and I watched all my friends with their little startups that were digital pivot really quickly, and they'd be like, you know what, we don't love this idea anymore, we're just going to tank it, start with something else. And I'm sitting there with a physical product, and there's no way you can do that. You can't move that fast. It's so expensive. And so candidly, I was just incredibly jealous. And at some point, I realized, man, if you teach yourself these skills, you can build out little companies for the cost of basically hosting and domain, $40 total. Mm-hmm. You can start a business, and that's really what drove my interest in tech.
Wow, fascinating stories. Each one was unique, but at the same time all interrelated. Women We can do it, can't we? So, we've talked about how you guys got into technology without actually wanting to be in technology. So, I was going to ask, but can businesses and organizations incorporate women and technology into their culture, and how can we go about doing that?
Happy to start.
Oh,
Yeah.
who wants to go?
I've certainly seen some personal stories in Charlotte specifically of companies doing a really great job of just that. I think I talk to recruiters all the time and, in different companies, and I think they're finally realizing like they need women, they need a different perspective, and they're trying to address that issue. So there have been two specifically that I could reference. I know Lending Tree is based here in Charlotte, and we just had a student who was spotlighted in the Wall Street Journal, and they allowed her to redo her entire schedule, to go through TTS. They partnered her with a mentor. She was in customer service before. She knew she wanted to be in development. She worked really, really hard because as much as everybody can code, it's tough.
It is.
And they allowed her to move her schedule and then move 1 day a week over to QA, and they supported her through this whole process, and that is just essentially unheard of, and we need to do more and more of that. So they built basically this apprenticeship within Lending Tree so she could move. She wasn't stuck in this one role. She had this goal. They knew how they could support her, and they did that. The other company I would say that in Charlotte specifically is Skookum. They were sort of on the forefront of web development here. I mean, they are the cool, hip company. It was the first with Tech Talks, and I know it certainly was like one of the companies that I went into their offices and I was like, ooh, I want to be a part of this. Look at all the cool stuff they have. Like, they just make it look great, and they have been unbelievably supportive of women, even just calling my company and saying, we just want to pay for a woman to go through your class, an awesome woman. No strings attached.
Wow.
Let's just pick somebody, and we ended up that class. Because we had so many females apply, we had in our part-time program 11 females and 1 male.
Wow.
Totally because of Skookum.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, I guess from a general standpoint, having women integrated into cultures of businesses, it gives a different perspective. It's become more and more common because of the flexibility of schedules. Women are having to juggle family and work, and so being able to come at it from a place of you can work whenever you need to work, but you're also adding a layer of a holistic approach. You're adding a layer of empathy and compassion and caring, and that's why you often see women in HR roles and recruiting roles, is because they can identify with people easily. But I feel strongly that women can take those same skills and apply it to a strategic role or an operational role or a sales or an executive level role, because that helps them be more connected to the people at the ground level.
Great answer.
I mean, I agree with both of what they said. One of the things I had said was the flexibility of it. I think the thought process behind promoting women within that is giving them the option of that flexibility and making it relevant to whatever it is that they're working at. Relevancy is very, very key in my whole mantra, is that if people can't see the purpose of it, they will not dive in.
That's true.
They just won't. There has to be some kind of relevancy to it. But something that Betsy touched on, that this is I've been thinking a lot about this because I've been in a couple different instances, but one of the things I think that's really great about the two companies that she mentioned, and I know that Apple does this in a few other places, is that culture of continuing to educate your people, whoever's working for you, and then of course wanting to hire new talent. But if you've got good people in your organization and you've got women, whatever it might be, promoting that and allowing them to go and further themselves is just phenomenal. The return on investment is bigger than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
People that, just like this young woman who went through the program and then is able to, she's offering Lending Tree even more value than she had.
True.
She's able to showcase. And the other thing is that as women, sometimes we don't exert ourselves to say, I can do this.
That's true.
You know, and I'm one to say that I haven't always done that all these years. I've wanted, sometimes I'll stand in the background and I need to, you know, we talk. We know how to talk. We communicate about everything, about our kids, about, you know, what we did on Friday night, or that, you know, this or that. Talk about what we do. Talk about your skill, and make it known that you can do X, Y, and Z, because you may be amazed at what would come out of it.
Well, that goes the same for women in negotiation. They're really great at negotiating for other people, and we as women have a hard time negotiating for ourselves. So businesses who take initiative to partner with organizations and businesses around professional development to come into their business and work with them is something that it doesn't necessarily take a lot of time, but it makes a huge impact.
That's true. So I'm going to relate this to you, Caitlin. Have you noticed any challenges as a young woman in technology in particular? Because with all due respect, I know you're younger than me. May not probably be the other two ladies, but
I am 27 years old, and I've been an entrepreneur for a few years. And one of the things that I've found the most difficult is being the youngest and the only female walking into a room full of male executives and having to negotiate and having to sort of prove myself. So building trust and building authority with people who are high up in a business has been extremely challenging, and I've had to practice and fall on my face and try it again, but the more and more that I do it, the more fulfilling it becomes, and the more that I see dramatic results within my business and the businesses that I'm working with.
Oh, great. Because I know that just you being there, being the forerunner, pioneer, would give a lot more young women of your age and probably even younger, you know, that opportunity that probably older.
Well, I think the most important thing for women of all ages is don't be afraid to start.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to fail. And be willing to try new things. And if one doesn't work, try in a different way. And to be courageous enough to be resourceful and ask other people for help. Is a way that you can put yourself ahead, because it does take a village. It really does.
It does. And on that same note, I was thinking there are lots of women who are going to be listening to this right now and wondering how they can transition from a career that they're in, which they're probably not enjoying, and move into tech, into the tech field. Because listening to us here, you can see that technology is dynamic, it's fulfilling, and it's fun. So can you guys throw any light on that if someone wants to transition?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk a little bit about it. I mean, there are a million ways that you can just dive in. Easy enough, you can jump online and go to resources like Team Treehouse or Code Academy. And, you know, I always tell people, I know one of the first times I really got excited about it, I went to Team Treehouse, and they will let you build out a little social network.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I've got my iPad up and my Mac, and I'm just copying them, right? Like nothing more than copying. But all of a sudden, I look, I just built a social network. Like, I'm putting status updates on my social network for my dog. Like, this is awesome.
It is.
So you can really start, and I mean, programs like that, there's certainly free programs online. There are programs that are $10 a month online. And then, you know, if you want to dive into a classroom, you can look for a boot camp. There are a lot of like really great secondary schools, CPCC being a wonderful one in Charlotte, that offer a lot of great programs. You can test the waters. And what I would say too, that's even, I really think specific to tech, it's a really supportive community. So if you're seeking it out, go on Meetup and look for the events around you.
Yes.
You can find a free code event. I mean, I know we personally host free events all the time. Women Wine and Design, where it's just women. You come in, you build an HTML, CSS site, and you drink some wine, and you go home, and it's free. And if you hate it, okay. But if you love it, you know you could continue on.
Well, and surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded.
Yes.
Being able to join organizations of ambitious, motivated career-minded people, women, if that's something that you're really trying to identify with. Labo League offers free events as well. You can go on Facebook and find free events. You could literally Google events for women in tech and find, an entire list. But surrounding yourself with people who are also interested in the same things, getting involved in your school organizations, just opening up the conversation to people. Hey, this is something that I'm interested in. Do you know anybody who is also interested in this? I'd be excited to meet with them. Or if you're moving from another city to Charlotte and you want to connect with women in tech, then just showing up.
Can I add one thing before you go? So one thing I would say, whenever I talk to female applicants for TTS or just women in tech in general, and you probably see this too, and you too, some ladies get really nervous to show up at an event. Like, I don't want to show up at the Ruby meetup because I don't know Ruby.
Right. And
don't have, my biggest advice, don't be scared. No one's going to be like, Paula, you don't know this. There's the door. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, you want to see what I'm doing? And if they're not, no harm, no foul. But I've never seen that to be the case. So just pop yourself in there. And like Caitlin said, you'll meet amazing ladies. I mean, certainly we all knew each other outside of this for that exact reason.
We just showed up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I agree with everything they said. And I think my mindset, I've become a much stronger woman in tech because of some of the free event, like Meetup is phenomenal because there's just a lot of different avenues that you can go down and not to be scared. I think taking that initiative and going online and finding those initiatives, I do quite a bit of work with an organization called code.org, which is based a lot for the young people, but I find it for all ages. If you just start, it's drag and drop programming and you learn the concept. One of the things I love about code is that it shows you all of the concepts that you're going to see in every language, variables, looping, functions, things like that you start to understand the vernacular and what it is. But, of course, at Central Piedmont, we offer wonderful courses in corporate and continuing ed that are very reasonable for 2 or 4 hours where you can come in and just get some information about what it is that you might be interested in. I think the biggest part about it is that continuation of keep learning. Keep your eyes open and just like Betsy said, just go. I mean, I have found, that's what I tell my students all the time. Don't be scared because I don't know sometimes when I go places half the things that people are saying to me. Sometimes they'll be talking about something that's a new way of doing something. I'm like, oh, great, thank you. And then I just Google it. I mean, because sometimes and I mean that in all honesty, that it's hard to keep up sometimes. So if someone starts talking about something that I don't know, I just jot it down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go look at that when I get back. And then I have this little seed in the back of my brain of something else that's new that I might want to discover. And just like she said, the community is so welcoming. And I get excited about going to these events because I'm like, ooh, what am I going to learn today?
Yes.
What am I going to learn today?
Yes.
And it's just something small. You don't have to go in with the concept that you're going to know it all because you're not. That just is what it is. Just learn one thing and take one step at a time. That's one of the things that I think sometimes we try to overwhelm us and we've got to know it all. We have to be expert in all, and that's just not a true statement. One step at a time.
Well, it's hard to navigate there because there are so many meetups and events and options going on in Charlotte. It's hard to find the ones that are of quality. So being willing to reach out to people and say, what has been your experience at this event? Or there's a Facebook group called the Charlotte Tweetarts, which is this group of amazing women who are, doing big things in Charlotte. I think there's over 2,000 women in this group. And so every single day people are posting, hey, does anybody know somebody for this? Or does anybody know an event about that? Or does anybody have any ideas on, something related to how some sort of social media profile functions? And so just being able to integrate yourself into a community of people doing a lot of different things and having the ability to just ask.
And that's key, asking, because this is the first time we've done this, Google Hangout and chatting with the experts, and to tell you the truth, I got into podcasting because I like to talk, but I didn't want anyone to see my face. And here I am on Google Hangout. First time, and probably going to make a lot of mistakes, but hey, that's how we learn. That's how we learn.
It's okay to fail.
It's okay to fail. And I think that's sometimes a big thing with women. We want to be perfect. Possibly because we're mothers, we want our children to see us as perfect, but we're not. And so even in the workplace, we're not going to be perfect.
We're human.
We're human. Absolutely. We are human. And believe it or not, we've been talking for 30 minutes. Doesn't feel like we have. This has been such fun. But obviously, we've touched a lot of things in which we have showcased women in technology as being very competent and being able to go out there and make a change in the world. So as we are winding up right now, are there any questions that you would have loved me to have asked that I have obviously forgotten to ask? Anybody? Do you think we've covered everything?
Certainly not covered everything. We've covered a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Well, I think the most important thing is don't be afraid to reach out to all four of us on LinkedIn. That's a great way to connect professionally. If you have any specific questions for any of us, you can just search for our names and you'll find us all on there.
I think we're pretty accessible. Would you like each one of you again like to give out your website or your where you can be found online? It's always sometimes easier if people can hear where they can find you rather than search. It's one step less.
Yeah, you can definitely find me. So I'm Betsy, Hauser, Idilbi, and you can find me through Tech Talent South. The site is techtalentsouth.com. You can Google it, you'll find it.
Right.
Well, I'm Caitlin Sellers, CAITLIN. So you can Google my name. You can find my website, CAITESELLERS, kdsellers.com.
And I'm Sharon Jones, and you can find me at Central Piedmont Community College or on LinkedIn as Sharon Jones. And I'm always willing to answer questions of anything you might like to know about education or technology.
And if you find one of us, you can find the others.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
And I'm Paula Okonneh with Chatting with the Experts. It's a podcast. It's also on the website. You can find me also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And I want to thank everyone, all three ladies. One thing I forgot to mention is that all of you are from Charlotte.
Yes.
We
true.
are.
It is.
Yes.
Born and raised. Yes,
Born
ma'am.
and raised. And
Yeah.
that's not very common. Anytime I meet someone from Charlotte, I am impressed. So I am
It's a wonderful city.
It is a wonderful city.
I think that's how we've kind of created a tribe here.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful, and it continues to be. It just continues to grow. I mean, I don't know.
So different.
It is so different. I think we could all talk about how different it is from when we were kids, but it was great then, and it's even better now.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time for Charlotte. We're really we're putting our place on the map for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You are, because I was in Chicago over the weekend, and when I mentioned that I was from Charlotte, someone told me that, I didn't get the statistic. I mean, I didn't get the exact place where they found this information, but I guess we can all Google it, that in 15 years, Charlotte is supposed to be the number one city in the world. We are growing in leaps and bounds, and that blew me away, because I love Charlotte. I've been here for about 20 years, but to hear that in less than the number of years that I've been living in Charlotte, that we're going to be the number one city in the world was very impressive.
Wonderful.
Excited to have some real estate here.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Get close to Uptown while it's affordable.
Yes.
That's funny. Cool. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you all for being guests on Chatting with the Experts. Thank you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to get your feedback. Simply head over to iTunes, leave a 5-star review, and let us know who you are interested in hearing more from and what topics interested you, so that we can bring back those experts again.